California is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding time to me. Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to the rule, and I urge my colleagues to defeat the previous question so that the House can vote on my bipartisan legislation, the Presidential Tax Transparency Act. This bill codifies the long-standing bipartisan tradition of presidents and presidential nominees disclosing their tax return information to the American people. The Republican majority and the president are currently working in overdrive to pass a distorted tax bill that will raise the taxes on 82 million middle-class families. It takes one's breath away. I and many others have spoken at length about the harm this bill will do to the middle class, from targeting the mortgage interest deduction to raising the cost of higher education and graduate students and student loans, to limiting the deductibility of state and local taxes. And at a time when our country is recovering from several natural disasters, including major wildfires in California, where 14,000 Californians have lost their homes, the House-passed bill eliminates the deduction for personal property losses resulting from natural disasters, which I find to be especially cruel. While it's very clear that the Republican tax bill will harm the middle class, it's less clear how the bill will benefit one taxpayer in particular, if he pays any taxes, the President of the United States of America. Mr. Trump is the wealthiest president in our nation's history, but he's also the only president, going back to Gerald Ford and all presidents moving forward, that voluntarily put out their tax returns. He's the only one to refuse to release his tax returns, a lapse in disclosure that is made all the more troubling given his all-out push for tax cuts for the wealthiest at the expense of the middle class and others in our country. How can Americans have any confidence in what's going on? They're not fools. They understand that we are swimming around in conflicts of interest, and nothing is being done about it. Today, Republicans have an opportunity. And while we cannot know exactly how the Republican tax bill will benefit the president until he releases his tax returns, we can be sure that this tax bill, which is skewed toward the top 1%, will benefit the billionaire commander-in-chief and his family. What an example for the American people. The Republican tax bill cuts the tax rate for so-called pass-through businesses, which is how many of the Trump's family's businesses are structured. I thank the gentleman. How their businesses are structured, including hotels, golf courses, and real estate developments. Specifically, the tax rate for passive business income, which is derived from licensing, royalties, and other arrangements that the Trump Organization specializes in, will be cut from 39.6% to 25% in the Republican tax scam bill. That same bill also repeals the alternative minimum tax, which we know Mr. Trump's, from his leaked 2005 tax returns, forced him to pay an additional $26 million in taxes that year. Without the AMT, he is completely off the hook and would essentially have a measly 3% effective tax rate. Another great example for the American people. It's no wonder they don't trust Washington, D.C. Lastly, the Republican tax bill doubles the estate tax exemption to $22 million. And guess who wins again? Mr. Trump. Mr. Speaker, only with full disclosure of the President's tax returns will we know how much he and his family will benefit from this Republican tax scam. And that's why I urge my colleagues to stand up for transparency, listen to the will of the American people, and vote on this bipartisan legislation.
Gentleman reserved. Gentlewoman from Wyoming.